guess what the biggest killer of men aged under 45 in the UK is, what would you say? Would you say alcohol poisoning, heart disease, cancer, car accidents? It's committing suicide. It's suicide. That seems incredibly weird for a society that is so relatively abundant and so peaceful and operating so successfully to all intents and purposes. And from the outside, it would appear to be so. What I find interesting, and what I've not really been able to encapsulate properly, because it's such a broad topic, into a post, and which is why I'm working on an article about it, is why this is happening, what could be the causes, how can we address it. What's interesting, of course, is this is a psychological source that this is coming from. This is not a physical affliction, so it's not the same as the traditional sort of medical illnesses that we've had to deal with in the past. It's not like the Black Plague came along and wiped a load of people out. Well, that was a physical sort of medical illness that affects people. We had sort of AIDS not so long ago. Cancer is still a very prevalent medical issue. Things like heart disease, and there's lots of other things, but we can treat them through traditional medical means, is what I mean. Whereas, how do you treat someone's brain that's telling them that the best course of action for them to take right at that point in time? In most cases, is it passes. You often find that people that survive suicide attempts don't then go on to commit suicide eventually. They often will realise that was a moment of madness. So something must trigger in the brain to make that happen. Why that's happening to men, why it's happening to young men, why that's happening to people in the West, I would say, that would ostensibly seem to have a good quality of life, seems weird to me. But I've certainly had that sort of experience in the past myself, quite a few times. I can sort of see the path that goes down to it, and I can see how what I believe to be solutions that help you deal with those situations. I can see what I believe to be the sort of factors that might lead up to that sort of situation. But of course, I'm not an expert. It's just based on my personal experiences. It's based on reading up on scientific research on the subject, and it's based on my own theories, based on what I perceive to be the case. But one thing that came across was this meme on Facebook, which is one important aspect of this much broader topic, but I thought it was a good starting point. It's this idea of being a man, and it's this expectation that if you don't live up to this idea of manhood or being a man, then you have failed in some sense. And part of being a man is traditionally maybe not talking about your feelings, not talking about how you if you're struggling with something. It's putting on a brave face and getting on with it, that kind of thing. That clearly isn't working because we have the situation we have now. So how do we sort of look towards a new sort of paradigm for what manhood is? What I'm seeing a lot in US political spectrum, at least, is this discussion of toxic masculinity, I should say. This idea that pressuring kids to do well at sports, or not open up about their emotions, or enforcing sort of male ideals and things is like this fuel for creating mental health issues, and potentially again leading to depression among men and suicide. Whether that's the case or not, I don't quite buy it myself. I think there's a factor, but I think it's one of many factors. But I think that's one that's getting an awful lot of attention, and that's something I'll discuss. But to me, manhood is just fulfilling the basic need of the basic purpose of being a male, of the basic physiologically wired need of being a male, which is to provide for your family, protect people that you care about, and providing a source of stability. To me, it's about being the rock, being the person that everyone can rely on. It's that last port of call when everything's going wrong. That's to me is what being a man is. That is taking care of what needs to be taken care of, being reliable. Is essentially what I'm saying. So, of course, if you set that expectation for yourself and you fall short, who do you open up to? Who do you talk to say, yeah, I'm struggling with this and this isn't, I can't deal with this isn't working? You don't want to turn to the people that you're supposed to be protecting, you're supposed to be providing for, because then what do? If you haven't got it handled, then they will lose their faith in you, basically. That's been my experience of this sort of phenomenon. I don't have children, I don't have a wife, I don't have anything like that, but I sort of understand the concept, and I feel that's a significant factor. And it's this idea of being a man and being the source that everyone relies upon in a number of different realms, and then falling short of that and having this pressure to feel that you failed and that you've not fulfilled your primary purpose as a human being on this earth. That's quite difficult to deal with. You can look at this practically in the modern world. So I've read about cases about young men they've been unemployed for 12 months or so, and they kill themselves because they're redundant. They're not being put to work. They can't earn, they can't provide for anyone, they can't do what they're wired to do. A lot of people suffer a breakup with a partner, and they go on to kill themselves shortly afterwards. Again, I feel it's this need to, you're supposed to be providing a certain role for that person, and then they've sort of denied that, or they've cut that away from you, and you don't perceive there to be a future to it. You don't perceive, okay, that wasn't right, move on to the next one, there'll be someone else out there for me. It's that lack of perception. And when you hear about people talk about it, having survived suicide attempts, having explored why they feel suicidal, it's often these same sort of things that they're talking about. And in friendship groups as well. So it's saying, going in now, I feel depressed, I feel awful, I can't barely get out of bed every day, I feel, I'm drinking too much, and these types of things. Do you want to go to your friendship group and say, talking about all this stuff, even if you have a good group of friends, you still fear that, they won't understand, or they'll just think I'm being soft, or they'll take the piss out of me, basically. So you failing to provide for them as a friend, and whatever they look for in you, whether they want a source of humour, they want someone just to rely on, to just hang out with them, all these things. If you start turning up and being depressed and negative and things like that, you take away from that energy, so you feel like you're a burden, you're a pain. You feel that you're a waste of space, you're wasting resources, that you being here is causing pain or is causing inconvenience to the people around you, that you'd be better off not being there and removing yourself from that situation so that they don't have to suffer with you. So that's the sort of thought process that I've been down before, and I think I'm seeing commonly in people that talk about their experiences as well. So coming back to this idea of being a man, for me it's the inability to provide, to fulfill your purpose as a provider. And it's why it's so common in young men who haven't been able to fulfill that role yet. I think male suicide, male depression, those sorts of things should be treated as its own phenomenon in its own right. I think it has its own set of factors that lead up to it. I think it's unique. I don't want to quote the wrong figures, but I know for sure 9 out of 10 male suicide attempts are successful. I believe it was 7 out of 10 female suicide attempts are unsuccessful. What they perceive that to mean in a very broad brush way is if a man says he's going to kill himself, he's going to do it. If a woman says she's going to kill herself, it's more that it's a cry for help. She needs someone to support her. She doesn't know how to express it in a very broad way. That's very, but again, it seems to be a stark difference in how the male brain is wired and how the female brain is wired, which is true. This is scientific. I'm not being sexist or something. Like, this is just truth. And so we need to approach it differently from depression and suicide as general phenomenons, because clearly young men especially, are being led to this in different ways and are being are responding to this in different ways than the wider populace. So I've rambled on way too long, but I just wanted to put it out there to see, send me a private message if you had any experiences of this. Is this something that you've had? I've sort of opened up to you a bit about my experiences. Is it something you suffered? Is there anything you'd like to contribute to an effort to try and understand what's going on here? Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not doing some thesis on it, but I just feel that there's no harm in trying, or no harm in trying to understand it, and then from there, if you can understand it, you can try and spread awareness, understand to other people, and contribute to the wider movement of cutting this down, which is growing and steam rapidly. So if you've got any thoughts on that, do get in touch. Otherwise, thanks for listening. Like I say, it's quite therapeutic for me to talk about stuff, and it makes me feel like I've got a purpose to be able to sit and talk to you, and to sort of hopefully contribute something that is of value to someone, or has changed someone's way of looking at things, or has helped them sort of do better in their lives. Like, I get messages from people, and it means a great deal to me. So this is partly like something that I do to make sure I've got a purpose in this world, if I've expressed that correctly. So if you're in a similar situation, think about how you can start to work towards fulfilling a purpose or fulfilling a need, is what I'd say to you. But like I say, if anyone is experiencing this, I'm always around to talk to, even if no one else is. Even if you don't know me from Adam, just get in touch, please do. Thanks.